Unit 3, Video 16, describe judicial review. Give examples of checks and balances. Then give me a kind of a rundown of the Marbury versus Madison court case. But the big picture is judicial review and checks and balances. John Adams loses the election of 1800. Thomas Jefferson is going to take over. But before Jefferson takes over, Adams tries to stuff the government full of his buddies, his pals, his boys, the Federalists. So, hey, Adams is gone. He's not going to have power anymore. So he wants to make sure that the government's still doing what he wants. So he jams in a bunch of commissions and a bunch of jobs for his dudes. Kind of familiar to what we see these days. And William Marbury is one of those dudes. He's promised a judge job, and he's on his way to his job. And all of a sudden, well, actually, we're not going to give you that job. Wait, what do you mean? Well, Thomas Jefferson just forgot to turn in the paperwork. Marbury's like, wait, what? You forgot to turn in the paper? I was promised the job by Adams. He was president then. You took over, and now you're just going to act like it didn't happen? Wait, you can't do that. A political opponent cannot deny me a job. This isn't a democracy. This is some sort of scam totalitarian system. This will not stand. And James Madison's like, well, yeah, Wiz, I just forgot to turn in your paperwork. Too bad, so sad. Better luck next time. Well, Marbury's not just going to take it. Marbury's going to look at the law and say, I'm going to get this job. And according to the Judiciary Act, Marbury has a pretty good case in the Judiciary Act. Now remember, the Article 3 of the Constitution explains the powers of the judicial branch, and it doesn't go into a lot of details, unfortunately. Now, Article 1 explains all the details, all the roles, all the responsibilities, all the powers of the legislative branch. Article 2 goes into great detail and great length to explain the executive branch. Article 3, not the greatest document in explaining the judicial branch, so our Congress years later said, hey, let's clear that up. We'll write the Judiciary Act or a judiciary law, which will go into more detail explaining what the judicial branch can and cannot do because the Constitution didn't do enough. And one of the things that they'll add is they will add a writ of mandamus, which will say, Supreme Court, you can listen to cases and tell the other branches what to do. You can listen to a case and then order the executive branch to do something different. Or you can order the legislative branch to do something different. This was added. So they have original jurisdiction now over specific cases and then can make a decision that the government has to follow through. That wasn't in the original Constitution. They're going to add that in. That's going to be a big problem. So Marbury says, look, Supreme Court, you now, because of a writ of mandamus, or you have the power of a writ of mandamus, which means you can hear my case and you can tell the branches what to do according to the Judiciary Act. So, hey, look at my problem. I was promised a job by Adams, and Jefferson is not giving me the job. I will take the case to you based on the Judiciary Act, and you have the power, the writ of mandamus, where you can tell those other branches what to do based on the Judiciary Act. Seems pretty simple. So the court case will go to Chief Justice John Marshall of the Supreme Court. He will listen to the case and say, here's the deal. There's three things that we need to go over. Number one, do the plaintiffs have a right to receive their commissions? Or does Marbury, the plaintiff, have a right to the job? Does he deserve to get his job as a judge? Yes! Marshall says yes. He has a right to receive the job. Right number two, though. Can he sue or can he use the government to get that job? Yes. He has the right to the job, and yeah, the government has the authority to make sure that he gets the job. But there's just one problem. There is always a but. And that but is a very big one that will change the course of American history and will redefine our government as we know it, or at least will define our government in terms of the judicial branch. Number three, does the Supreme Court have the authority to deliver it? So yes, you should have the job. Yes, the government should have some way of dealing with this. But do we, the Supreme Court, have the ability to listen to this case and then make the other branches fulfill your commission, carry out your job? Do we have the authority to listen and then make the government change their ways or make the executive branch give you the job? Can we do that? No, we can't. So yeah, you should have a job. Yes, you should be able to use the government to get the job, but it ain't going to be us. We can't do it. And Marbury's like scratching his head. What? No. You've got the Judiciary Act. The Judiciary Act, Chief Justice Marshall, and Marbury's like, come on, man, look, it's in this piece of paper. The Judiciary Act says, yes, you can listen to the case. And yes, you can tell the other branches what to do. I got cheated. You're hearing me. You agree with me. Tell them what to do. You have the authority to do this. It gives you original jurisdiction. Well, that's the problem here. And Marshall's going to look at the Constitution and say, there's a problem. We got this Judiciary Act and we got the Constitution, and they don't jive. One says one thing and the other says another. The Constitution says, here's the cases that you can listen to. Article 3, Section 2 of the U.S. Constitution tells the Supreme Court specifically what court cases that they can listen to. The Judiciary Act then expands those. So if you look at the U.S. Constitution, specifically Article 3, Section 2, it says, all right, Supreme Court, here are the cases where you have original jurisdiction. Here are the court cases that go directly to the Supreme Court. Okay, it's defined. But then the Judiciary Act adds more to it. Well, you can't. One says we can do this. One says we can't. The Judiciary Act says, yes, Marbury can go to the Supreme Court and do his thing. The Constitution doesn't say that this can happen. According to the Supremacy Clause of the Constitution, Article 6, we've talked about this in previous videos. The Supremacy Clause says that the federal law always trumps state and local laws. So if the state makes a law and the federal government makes a law, the federal law always wins. Rock, scissors, paper, however, rock, paper, scissors, however you want to say it. Federal has supremacy over state. And we'll go over that and over that and over that, but it's in the Constitution, Article 6. It also states that the supreme law of the land is the Constitution. So you can write whatever federal law you want, but if that federal law violates or changes the Constitution, that federal law is null and void. The Supreme Court always wins that battle of rake, paper, scissors, rock, paper, scissors, paper, rock, scissors, however you want to say it. That's what the Constitution says, and that's what Marshall says. That power, that writ of mandamus, or writ, spelled it wrong, writ of mandamus, that you put in the Judiciary Act, that's not in the Constitution. We do not have original jurisdiction. We do not have the power of writ of mandamus. We were never granted that in the Constitution. We, the people, did not give the court that power. The judicial branch doesn't have it. And legislative branch just can't make it up. They cannot add that to it. And if you can't add that to it, then this court case can't happen, and we can't issue a writ of mandamus. We can't give you your job because we, the people, established a limited government. A government by the people, not a government by the elites or by the rulers who make rules up as they go whenever they want, whenever it serves their needs. So Marbury is like, how did I get into all this legal nonsense? I'm just trying to get my job. I just want my job, guys. I was told I was going to get a job. I was supposed to get this job, and now I'm in some sort of crazy courtroom drama. Dun, dun. I got cheated. You agree with me that I got cheated? Give me the job. No, of course, somehow I got cheated. You agree with me, but you're saying the other side wins? What's going on? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills, says Marbury. Yeah, it's kind of complicated, and that's what Marshall's doing to him. You don't have the power to listen to my case, but you're listening to my case. Well, Marshall says, yes, it's right. This is happening. This thing is happening right now. I get it. But it shouldn't be happening. You came to us because the Judiciary Act said that you can come to us and we can order a writ of mandamus. That law is unconstitutional. That law goes against the Constitution. The Constitution does not say that we can order a writ of mandamus. The Constitution does not say that you can come to us. You shouldn't be here, but I am here. Well, I'm sorry, but you shouldn't be. Just give me the job. Well, this is bigger than your job now. So, typically, Marshall, I'm going to break it down for you. Typically, you go to the district court. That's where most cases are heard. And then, this is according to the way it's supposed to go, then you can appeal up, and then cases of final appeal go to the Supreme Court. But because of the Judiciary Act, Marbury, you went straight, you looked at the Judiciary Act, you looked at what it said, and you came straight to us. And we are now hearing your case. The problem is, it should have never happened. The Judiciary Act should have never existed. And we're going to put an end to it right now. Where you should have gone, according to the U.S. Constitution, is right there. It's like, so I'm losing on a technicality? I'm losing on a glitch? Why didn't you tell me to go to another court? I would have gone to another court. I would have gladly gone to another court. I just want to get a job. I'm not really trying to change American history. I don't need my name in textbooks. Just need to pay my bills. I just need a job, guys. Don't care. Too bad, Marbury. You're a part of history and you don't get the job. But people will remember you forever, sort of, kind of. Even though I often forget his first name. So it goes. Congress cannot expand our power, says the judicial branch, says Chief Justice John Marshall. The Judiciary Act added to the Constitution. You can't do that. And the big clause here was, well, yeah, of course, the writ of mandamus is an added power, but the big thing was the original jurisdiction. They don't have the power to hear this case. Therefore, the case never existed. This shouldn't go there. According to Article 3, Section 2, this case should not be in the Supreme Court. Yes, the Judiciary Act said, no, it should go. But the Judiciary Act is not allowed to say things that the Constitution doesn't say. Remember, the Supremacy Clause. If you do want to change that clause, if you do want to make it so these specific types of cases go to the Supreme Court, and that the Supreme Court does have the power of written mandamus, if you want to give the Supreme Court the power to order the executive branch around, if you want to tell the judicial branch that they have the power of written mandamus so they can order the legislative branch around, if you want to do that, a law is not good enough. To give the Supreme Court that power, you have to change the Constitution. You have to make an amendment. You have to add to the Constitution. The judicial branch says, we don't care about the Judiciary Act. The Supreme Court doesn't care about the Judiciary Act. The Supreme Court doesn't care about this. What we care about is the Constitution. The Constitution is our boss. It tells us what we can do and what court cases we can see. We don't take orders from the legislative branch. If they make a law, it cannot tell us what to do. Who bosses us around? The Constitution written by the people. We are servants of the people, not the legislative branch. We are our own separate branch. We are equal to you. You cannot tell us what to do. There is only one boss for us, and that is the Constitution. And the Constitution clearly says if you want to give us power or take power away or make changes in terms of jurisdiction, it has to be an amendment according to Article 5 of the Constitution. There's a process for that. You can't just simply make a law that does not alter the Constitution. All laws have got to follow the Constitution. It's in the Constitution. If you want to add to it or change it, pass an amendment. Simple as that, even though it's very hard to change the Constitution, but the rules are simple. Judiciary Act doesn't work. The Judiciary Act, they say, violates the Constitution, and thus it's done, it's gone, it's thrown out. And if it doesn't exist, then obviously Marbury can't go talk to the Supreme Court. Obviously, the Supreme Court can't order a mandamus. Yeah, you deserve the job. Yeah, you got cheated. But guess what? You're talking to the wrong guys. We don't care. We don't care about your job, Marbury. What the Supreme Court cares about is the Constitution. And that is what they hold near and dear. And this is where the focus starts for the judicial branch on, look, get rid of the Judiciary Act, but now they've discovered a new thing. It's called judicial review. They are going to forfeit that power of written mandamus that they got in the Judiciary Act. They throw it away. Cool. We could have had a power of written mandamus. Could have, but that would have been lying and cheating. But we're going to gain something else. We're going to gain a superpower because through this process, the Supreme Court discovers what their real purpose is. Through this court case of Marbury versus Madison, the Supreme Court accidentally discovers what their role for the next 200, 300, forever years will be. And that is to review the government's actions. Judicial branch reviewing, judicial review. The government is going to review the laws from here on out, just like they reviewed the Judiciary Act and looked at it and said, hey, easy, folks. That Judiciary Act is doing stuff that the Constitution doesn't say it can do. And so we are going to say, legislative branch, that law's done. Oh, wow, we just discovered our whole purpose in life. Our meaning is to review the legislative branch. It's to review the executive branch. That's what we're here for. Ah, cool. Maybe we should have figured that out years ago. Glad we figured it out now. Here is an example. Let's say legislative branch wants to make a law. The judicial branch can say, sorry, you can't do that, and rule that law unconstitutional and throw that out. That is judicial review. They review the laws. And why do they throw them out? They throw out the laws if the laws do not follow the Constitution. This might be a bad example, whatever. Either way, if you write a law and in that law it violates any clause or article in the Constitution or any amendment, let's say they write a law that says you no longer have freedom, or they write a law that says you can't go to church. Sound familiar? The judicial branch would review that law and say, sorry, you cannot pass laws about an establishment of religion. Throw the law out. And if the executive branch wanted to do something, the judicial branch can step in and rule the actions of the executive branch illegal. That is judicial review. Congress can't expand our power, but we kind of technically expanded our own power. Wait a second. You got mad when the legislative branch tried to expand your power, but then You just went ahead and gave yourself the power. Wait, you can't have more power, but well, no, we had this power all along. We just didn't know it. It was inside us this whole time. It's like every superhero story, right? They had the power all along. They just had to look deep within. That's the judicial branch. Every Marvel comic, you were a superhero this whole time, and then it finally came out of you. You were truly brave. Maybe that doesn't make any sense. Real quick on checks and balances, just a review. So we went over judicial review, we went over Marbury versus Madison. So let's talk about how this kind of exists in real life. The legislative branch wants to write a law. The judicial branch can come in, wham, smack, and say that law is unconstitutional. Get rid of it. That is judicial review. That is checks and balances. That's the judicial branch checking the legislative branch. If the executive branch, the president, is torturing terrorists, the judicial branch can look at what the president is doing and say, your actions don't follow what you're allowed to do in the Constitution. They look at Article 2 of the Constitution and say, President, you're doing stuff that you're not allowed to do. Stop doing it. That is a check. That's a way of limiting the power of the executive branch. And then it works a bunch of different ways. If the legislative branch wants to write a law, the executive branch can say, nope, we don't like that law. If the executive branch is torturing people and doesn't want and wants to keep torturing people, well, so the judicial branch can get in the way of that and say, you can't do that anymore. Well, the executive branch can fight back against the legislative or against the judicial branch by appointing judges. So the executive branch, the president, can make sure that the Supreme Court is filled with a bunch of guys that agree with him. And if it's a bunch of guys that agree with him, then they're going to let him do the torturing. These are examples. I'm exaggerating. This may or may not happen. But either way, the executive branch can fight the judicial branch by stuffing in his pals. The legislative branch writes a law. The judicial branch comes in and says, get rid of it. It's unconstitutional. How can the legislative branch bounce back? They've got to be equal, don't they? Well, the way that they can bounce back is not only does the executive branch appoint the Supreme Court justices, but the legislative branch approves those justices. So the legislative branch can make sure that the justices that go in the Supreme Court that can fight the legislative branch, well, they are going to be the people who agree with the legislative branch. They get to approve of these people to make sure that they're their buddies, their pals, their friends, their comrades, that will make sure that they don't fight each other. And that's the way that checks and balances works. Woo!